Moving on to another big story at this hour, and that's the world's top democracies who will be meeting in Japan's Hiroshima for the G7 summit. That is to start tomorrow. The meeting comes amid a series of world crises, from the war in Ukraine to food security and the growing Chinese influence. The meetings will discuss the potential next steps for Russia. Despite the harsh sanctions imposed, Russia has managed to ward off the sanctions during the course of the war, for the most part. U.S. President Joe Biden, who cut back his Asia trip and skipped the Quad summit, arrived in Japan for the meeting. Air Force One touched down at the U.S. Marine Corps base at Iwakuni, just south of Hiroshima. During bilateral talks with the Japanese Prime Minister, the two sides discussed their economic and security alliances and said that they will address challenges of Russia's aggression in Ukraine and strengthening of the Indo-Pacific Partnership. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida also held a bilateral meeting with his Italian counterpart, Giorgia Meloni. The two leaders agreed to deepen ties as Italy takes over the G7 presidency from Japan in 2024.
E ovviamente, come tu hai ricordato, essendo l'Italia il prossimo presidente, è fondamentale ancora di più che la nostra cooperazione sia molto stretta.
As for the British Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, he has signed a historic Hiroshima Accord with the Japanese Prime Minister ahead of the G7. Meanwhile, the Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, also arrived in Japan, as did German Chancellor Olaf Scholz. The symbolism of choosing Hiroshima to host the G7 is not lost on anyone, amid the threats from Russia of using nuclear weapons. Remaining in the world of its devastation is imperative. The G7 comprises the United States, Britain, France, Japan, Italy, Germany, and Canada. This year, member nations are set to discuss key issues such as we mentioned, Russia's aggression in Ukraine, importance of the Indo-Pacific, nuclear disarmament, and non-proliferation, achieving net zero emissions by 2050 as well. Okay, for more on this, we are joined by WION's very own Siddhan Sabal from Hiroshima. Siddhan, thank you so much for joining us. Great to see you. Tell us what's the latest.
Well, Sudan, it's just past 10:30 p.m. Here in Japan, and the city of Hiroshima is all set for the G7 summit. It begins tomorrow when the world leaders begin their day by visiting the site of Hiroshima attack, the atomic attack, the Hiroshima Peace Park. And then, of course, the proceedings begin. We know that while the summit will be focusing on issues ranging from climate change to clean technology, artificial intelligence, there's this long shadow of the Russian invasion of Ukraine and, of course, the Chinese aggressive action. So there will be, of course, no surprises, but it's given that on Sunday, when the joint statement is released by the G7 leaders, there will be strong sanctions against Russia. But also another aspect is countries like India, Australia, Indonesia, Vietnam, who have been invited by the Japanese side as a show of how they are increasing their engagement in Indo-Pacific. Remember, earlier this year, the Japanese Prime Minister in New Delhi gave his vision for the Indo-Pacific, where he focused on connectivity in ports like the Matawari port in Bangladesh.
WION's very own Siddhan Sabal live from Hiroshima. Thank you for that update, and we'll be looking forward to speaking to you again very soon regarding all the latest. And you had a number of high-level interviews since you arrived as well. So great job, and we'll talk to you soon.